Now presenting Mr. Mike Coyne, Governor's Hurricane Conference Board member representing the National Weather Service.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our next award is the Tropical Meteorology Award. It's presented to an individual or organization that has made outstanding or substantial contributions to the advancement and knowledge, application, or understanding of the hurricane forecasting and warning process in the state of Florida. Since 2004, Mr. Mike Boylan has been educating people about trends, model runs, and everything else tropical weather related through his website. He does not forecast, but his dedication and contributions to the citizens of Florida and providing tropical weather information in layman's terms, helping to explain what the forecast trends mean and how to follow all the extensive maps, charts, and graphs located on his website, Mike's weather page, aka spaghettimodels.com. The 2021 Tropical Meteorology Award goes to Mike Boylan of Mike's weather page.
Just click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nation. Well, there'll always be some haters. They don't understand. Mike's got a friend and 100,000 more across the land. Well, if you want to know it first and you want to know it right and you want to have time to plan, Drunk Donkey Nation tells your friend, Mike, he's your man. And he's gonna tell you all about the wind and the rain. Gonna tell you if it's gonna be a storm or if it's gonna be a hurricane. Don't you worry about the news others try to hide. Click on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide. Yeah, here on Mike's page, Drunk Donkey Nationwide.
All right. Good morning, world. How's it going? Back, Amanda. Yes, we are back. It appears we're streaming live. We only had 4 days off, but it's always hard to get things back when you're a one-man band on the production side, that is. The production side. So we're back home. We're going to be live all week long. We have our summer approaching us when we talk a lot of weather, tropics, and more. So 4th of July, I hope everybody had a great holiday. Man, 4th of July was also an awful holiday for many, as we know, across Texas. I still feel awful, not really paying attention much on July 4th and then seeing what was happening in Texas, I just, I don't know, the kid, just the girls, everything. I mean, it was a rough day following, keeping up with what was happening. And it's still happening. I mean, every update online, just more stories in Texas. You probably saw we were picking up Longo. We got Longo. I just don't think it's appropriate to today, to debut him with everything that's going on. So maybe tomorrow. Just wanted to open up the show to let everybody know that my heart is breaking for all that's happened and still happening. Texas now, especially even now Carolinas. I'm going to go into that. They have Chantel bringing a tremendous amount of rain yesterday. Unbelievable flooding. Rivers are flooding. Just horrific. Thinking back to Helene, right? Some of the same areas dealing with flooding. So we've had 2 historic flooding events within a week. Okay, so I don't, as that song introduction began, I'm a Florida guy, tropical guy. The flash flooding that happens out in Texas is its own phenomenon in itself. Wall of water, like you just can't believe. Some of those videos I'm seeing, you just can't imagine. And the same thing was experienced last night. I'm going to show you some river gauges in the mountains of the Carolinas that almost had the same wall of water. It's crazy. So I just, talking weather today, keep it kind of short and sweet. First day back live. We'll hopefully, things start to make sense a little bit. But anybody affected, definitely my heart, breaks for you. I just can't imagine. A couple comments when I say I can't imagine, they're like, well, you're a weather guy. Well, I meant I can't imagine what people are going through. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to, I made a simple little post. I'm not the guy to ask how I thought it happened. Do I think it should have been this, should have been that? First off, I'm not a professional. I'm not a meteorologist. Everybody should know that. So my opinion is really just my opinion that I reserve for myself, because it's going to open up a debate. What happened. And I don't really want to go back and speculate anything, especially right now. So, put yourself in those folks' shoes, and it doesn't really matter at this point. The facts matter, and there's a lot of folks suffering right now. So, but we will talk about Longo maybe tomorrow. Like I said, I didn't feel comfortable starting out with all the news in the weather world with that. Just something weird inside of me just said it's not time. So I do have some graphics I wanted to go into, and I'm going to keep it short and sweet on that part. Welcome back. Thank you. We had a great time in the Margaritaville. We did announce our cruise for next season. Again, I'm not going to get into too many details on that. However, we sold a lot of cabins, and we were only going to max out, I think, at 50 cabins. So I think it's going to sell out super quick. There was so many people on the ship that are going to sign up that were weather fans. So if you're thinking about it, sign up. We don't want you to miss out. I had the best week ever with the Margaritaville crew. They're the best. I really enjoyed it. So that, there you go on that. But I do have some tropics to talk a little bit about. We got some weather. I got some graphics up for you. The rainfall here at home while we were gone is incredible. Palm Harbor had double-digit rains, if you know where that's at. A mile away, they had almost nothing. That is, you see me go over these models sometimes when we look at the worst-case models, because it's going to happen somewhere. You just can't predict exactly where that rain training is going to set up. We saw it here at home while all this was going on in Texas and recently Carolinas. We had it here at home with some bands from Chantel that were coming around the Gulf and just kind of parking there in West Central Florida. Some people got some didn't, but we had pockets of double-digit rains even here. But yeah, I'm going to talk weather. We'll say hellos tomorrow. I just don't want to go off the weather focus right now. And then I might share a photo. If you all think it's okay, I need to know, Shelly, the vibe. I'd like to at least do a picture later today of Longo, because so many people knew that we were picking them up. I don't want to let anybody down, but I definitely wanted to start out just letting everybody know where my heart's at and everything that so many people are going through. But let me show you what I got put up here for the weather world. Here's a graphic I did share. This was fascinating to me because Barry was a storm that hit Mexico at the end of the month, and it actually, if you go back to the 30th right here down in Mexico was Barry. And if you just follow this little area right here, it gets stuck. It pulls up, the jet stream, tropics, Gulf flow, everything just parked, kind of like Harvey a few years back, the steering currents. But watch this here, and at the same time, you're going to see Chantel towards the end, this is a 7-day satellite loop, and you can see both systems. Again, we've had 2 historic flooding events within a week. I don't know if that's ever happened, but the Carolinas last night, and obviously Texas. But you can see here this moisture, and I'll just let it replay a couple times. You can see it get kind of pulled up around, high pressure flow. Then it just parks itself. This is July 5th, July 6th. So again, it's going to loop itself. July 1st, July 2nd, July 3rd, and then July 4th. It just parked itself. And there could have been a little flossy juice there too. I don't really know. Somebody asked me that. I don't know if it didn't necessarily, but definitely Barry flow was a part of this upper level low. Kind of like Helene. We had a mid-level low that provided fuel. So it was the perfect storm in a bad way. And then you can see Chantel here towards the end popping off, and eventually right here, and then it pulls up, and very short-lived storm. 3 systems this season have been extremely short-lived. Unbelievable. I think the combined hours aren't even 24 hours. I'd like to see a stat on that. Andrea, Barry, and Chantel, I don't think were around even 24 hours. But slow-moving, 10 inches of rain on flat surface is not anything compared to what you see on hard-packed flash flooding out west. That water does not absorb into the ground because it's so hard. And then in the Carolinas, you have mountains. So when you take a piece of paper and you dump a cup of water on that piece of paper, like Florida, it disperses. And usually it finds places to go and goes into the ground. But when you take that piece of paper and you bend it, all that same amount of water that you just saw fall on a flat surface ends up getting trapped. And now that magnifies crazy. And then because of the mountains, it starts to flow, and it flows fast. So all that water accumulates on that V bend of the mountains, and it just goes, and that's what happens. I mean, so you might hear, oh, it was only 8 inches of rain, but it's way worse. But anyway, I'll link that on the site. Here's some of the totals in Texas. Everything red is up to 8 to 14 inches. This is everything that fell July 3rd, 4th, and 5th. But you can just see the huge numbers, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13. These are measured, so there could have been more at different places. But just a tremendous amount of water flowed or fell. 2 different spots, really. But there it is. I mean, you saw that energy from Barry just parked right there, and it just sat there in middle Texas. That's just kind of what happened. So that's that. That's, anything red's 8 to 10 to 12, 13, 14 inches. Yellow's 3 to 4 inches. And then if we go to the Carolinas, which happened last night, it was sneaky. 7 is in red. We have 10. We had radar estimates of 11.5, 12 inches. If you're curious kind of where it's all at here in the Carolinas, this is a little bit more of my coverage area because I'm more tropics. Again, I'm a one-man band, okay? I post a lot. I would challenge anybody that posts more weather than I do. But when you have weather events happening all over the place, it's just sometimes people get mad, and I get it. Like, why aren't you talking about this? I wish I could talk about everything. I wish I understood everything. I wish I could stay up 24 hours a day. Went to bed last night at 9 and all this flooding started happening. I started posting this morning at 4 in the morning, if you've noticed. So people were posting up till midnight. I was sleeping. I didn't, I couldn't. I got to sleep sometime. So all this rain happened last night in the Carolinas. And that's Winston-Salem and Charlotte to the west. And, of course, Greensville, north of Fayetteville. Close to the same spots, like I said, that had to deal with this before. But there's your big total. So all that, happened because of a slow-moving Chantel, that rain train, okay? So here's a little post I did this morning I was really interested in. So, I'm not going to bash anybody. the two things. Okay, I am gonna. Okay, two things. And if you've followed me for a long time, you know I hate tornado warnings that are issued when majority of people are sleeping. That's my beef. When you know the conditions are there, the tornado warning that goes off at midnight, 1 o'clock, I sleep through anything. So, I wish warnings and these serious warnings and stuff would happen somehow. I don't know how, but somehow, because I'm just worried people sleep through them. That's all. Secondly, is when they give their official rainfall forecast, it's a blend of models, and it's not. Two things on the Carolina. It never was above yellow. If you got the excessive rainfall potential, it was only yellow. We didn't even have a red. I don't even think Texas had a red. Maybe they did. That's why I didn't want to talk about that. I don't know if they did or not. But I do know last night we only had a yellow slight. So, you see that. Other times we have pink and red, and your intensity level goes up. But when you only see yellow, that's the same you always see. And then their rainfall predictions were 4 to 6 inches, right? None of them showed double digits. So I always show, if you've been following me a long time, especially in tropical systems, there's an official forecast that shows a general conservative blend of rainfall estimates, but then you go to the individual runs like the HRR, the NAM, Euro, GFS, ICON, they all show pockets, and I always talk about this. I know somebody's going to back me up. But when you look at these individual models, you'll see isolated little pockets of intense rain that is impossible to say it's going to be there. But it is possible to say that idea is going to be somewhere. Okay? And it's impossible for the National Weather Service or National Weather Service and National Hurricane Center to guess where that pocket's going to be. So maybe they should, have a big asterisk, isolated 10 to 12 inches possible. Something, I don't know. Because sometimes there's not, like, we didn't see this in other storms. Sometimes you don't see these purple estimates. So, but we did a lot with this Carolina system. Now, this was the HRR July 5th, the morning of July 5th, Sunday morning. And, or Saturday morning. What day is it? Today's Monday. Saturday morning. And it predicted the chance of purple, which is 10 inches plus. And I looked at, this is the 12Z. 18Z did too. These models don't go out past 48 hours. But if you look at the actual rainfall here that I pulled up this morning, this exact area, you can look at a little bend here, you can just kind of get the idea, is almost exact to where it predicted. This light pink is 8 to 10 to 12 inches of rain here in northern part of North Carolina. And the HRR almost exactly predicted that. The thing it did predict was the weather pattern itself is going to be possible to dump that much rain. That's the pattern I look at, is to say, man, there's a lot of juice. There's a lot of precipitable water. There's some models saying these little isolated pockets. So anyway, props to the HRR. That's why I share it all the time. Some people think it's irresponsible, but I think it's good to show because it shows that worst case rainfall could happen somewhere, that the environment has that juice in it. It's just, and I was really surprised this morning to see that over 24 hours, almost 36 hours before the HRR got it really close. A little bit too, I'm curious to hear people's opinions on down the road, but this all cooled down because of Barry and I think it's updated to 6. Yep. So but the water temperatures in this whole, northern Atlantic or western Atlantic have been above normal. So all that juice has got to come somewhere, right? So, we've talking a lot about the water temperature anomalies in the Atlantic. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with that extra about of moisture in Chantel that was able to fall, because this is where it gets its fuel from. This Atlantic warmth helps juice things up. And I'm going to show you a dust map here in a second. The dust map typically does this. Typically your dust map is more like that, this area right here. So we always say El Nino years especially, this is the area you watch because it's outside of the dust. The dust really impacts the Caribbean and middle Maine development region a lot. So And we do have a little spot there I'm going to talk about here in a second. Forecast for today. Again, this is what they showed yesterday for the Carolinas, yellow. You know, you see it and you're like, we've seen yellow before. You know, but we saw a lot worse. So I don't know. Here's current satellite when I woke up. So it's still a blob. It's nothing anymore. Just a old low pressure area, Chantel. So we're looking for heavy rain up through actually New York into Pennsylvania some. So, and a little bit of this moisture is going to flow in around the Great Lakes here across parts of Ohio, Akron, Pittsburgh, northern New York, there, Syracuse areas. So this is where we're watching today for heavy rains. So pay attention, especially if you're into yellow, for some heavy rain. Rivers, this is the big, we really don't have any gauges. Maybe we did out west, I don't know, but I just pulled up the ones from that I saw this morning. So there's 3 rivers that are flooding right now, 4 or 5 actually, but the Haw River is one of them, and a couple creeks and stuff. This one right here that I got highlighted is the Eno River. Most of these rivers that are breaking records were dating back to like Hurricane Fran. I mean, records. This one here, record was 14.9. It hit 23 last night. But what's incredible is this, all right? Look at this. This river was at 2 foot. Okay, and this is just east of Winston-Salem, you know. Let me zoom in a little more here. Really close to Durham. Right here, this spot right there where I'm circling. This right there, that little river right there. I got it right there. Just west of Durham. But look at this. At 8:40 p.m. yesterday, 5 p.m. it was at 2 feet. This is North Carolina yesterday. 2 feet yesterday. 2 feet. The river. 2 feet. You can walk in it. And then by 10 p.m., it breaks a record. So 6 p.m., it was at 2.4 feet. By 9:20, it's at 11 feet. 10 p.m., it's at 14 foot. By 11 p.m., it's almost at 22 feet. Midnight, it was a record. So 6 hours, this thing went from 2 feet to 23 feet. Unbelievable. That is a wall of water. And there's a lot of videos out there from, obviously, Texas and now Carolina. So there you go. Interesting stuff. So no comments today, just doing weather. Well, I'll look at some comments now. North Carolina, Rob, HRR, golly. I'd love to see some history of those models. Actually, I post them a lot. I'd be curious at some of my past posts. Usually I share them a lot during hurricanes. Sirens are tough. I don't know. Everybody sleeps different too. So it's like when I'm saying majority of people are sleeping at midnight, well, there's some people probably that sleep in the afternoon. So I don't know the right way to do it. But I can tell you there's been a lot of tornadoes that we've had tornado warnings issued at 2 in the morning or even a tornado watch area, That's right, Loretta Reed. The water, I just went through, the water accumulates so bad, so here's where the last update, there's kind of where it's at. This is also a 7-day outlook. There's nothing really cooking in the next 7 days, so there you go. I do have a little spot I got my eye on. We're going to talk about it here in a second. Again, we're going to introduce Longo probably tomorrow to the world. If you're just tuning in, I didn't feel right to do that today. So tomorrow we'll announce it today. But here's what's cooking in the dust world. My goodness. All right. So it is a little above normal this year. Okay. A lot of winds across the Atlantic Main Development Region has been picking up this dust, and it's been slinging it across the Atlantic. Okay. A little more than normal. Yes. I've been reading a lot of big dogs, and yes, it should have been lightening up by now. So it hasn't, and this is where we're at. We got a big plume. I did post pictures from the cruise. It was amazing. And talking to the locals down in the Yucatan, I want to share some more stories about the Yucatan. I'll do that during the week. But the dust is an amazing part of the Caribbean. But watch what we got coming. There's a huge plume in the middle Atlantic right now. That is massive. I don't think I've ever seen colors that intense showing you the density of the dust in the air. That is one of the strongest dust signatures I've seen in a long time. And it spins around. You get low pressures. But, man, it's going to be reaching that Caribbean here in just a couple days midweek. And it's going to be going all the way across, possibly South Florida by the end of the week here. So that's just keeping things quiet as far as big development goes. And there's another one coming in behind it. So there's your 10-day outlook. And this pretty much keeps the main development region, like I said, kind of shut down. But doesn't mean we can't get anything homegrown like we saw with Chantel, last second Barry. Once it escapes this main development region. But there are also smaller systems. But let me tell you something. I don't know if it's enough to officially call the Texas floods Barry, but maybe if it does, it does. That means the remnants of Barry were part of it. I don't know 100% yet, meteorological speaking, if that's 100% true. That's why I posted that video today to show you how you can follow that cloud pattern. So it does make sense that Barry was pulled up and around and stalled out there part of Texas. But we do know Chantel caused a lot of significant flooding, and that was a weakening tropical storm. So one of my biggest talking points is it's only a Cat 1 or it's only a tropical storm, and this is indeed going to go down 100% Chantel. We know that 100% with Chantel was tropical system. And the damages coming out of the Carolinas, are bad. I don't know, impacts yet as far as populated areas, but that'll be from a weakening only tropical storm. So again, we don't need a Cat 2, 3, 4, 5 to create what we're seeing. Okay, so much, everybody's so wrapped up in wind speed that sometimes doesn't mean much. The flooding, the slow moving tropical moistures is always the bigger story, and we talk about that. It doesn't get the level of hype because it's not a 150 mile an hour storm, right? It's rain, but man, that is such a bigger impact and deadly impact. This unfortunately is it's getting close to 100 fatalities already, and I think in this day and age that God, we should know somehow to prevent that from happening. It just shows you weather is unpredictable. As much as, we think we know, every year we have a story of something that was a failure. As far as, it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Look at Ian turning the last second. The GFS skewing all the models, and next thing you know, Ian turns. But those say that for a rainy day. Rainy day. Oh, no pun intended. All right, Tropics. So I posted this last night. These are ensembles that show you low pressure centers. Each one of these is a little center. There's 51 members of the Euro, and it pretty much highlights areas that it believes we're going to have low pressure. That's all. Low pressure in Colorado. This is on the GFS. Not a tropical system in Colorado, but anyway, low pressure out there. The main point of this graphic is very little activity in this whole main development region in the next 10 days. So we do have this, though. That little guy this morning. I first looked at long-range Euro, and I saw a little color there. And I'm like, huh? Wasn't there last night. Tropics changed. Tropics pop up quick. Sometimes you have to watch tropics in real time, because not all the time long-range modeling can predict sneaky homegrown little systems. So we actually have a little bubble there that's got my attention. That's live look on Weather Nerds this morning, weathernerds.org. So that's the only spot that I see that we might need to just keep a little one eye on. And it looks like it could wrap around that Gulf Stream through the week. So there you go. Here's what it looks like animated. You can almost see a little rotation here. Not anything official. The National Hurricane Center did not mark this, okay? But it's interesting because it does have a little bit of spin to it, and that's what it looks like right now. So let's just keep a casual eye on that, okay? The 500, 700 millibar charts are actually showing a little bump. You can see the flow right there, east of Bahamas. So it's getting a little, get a little wrap, little independence. So we'll just keep an eye on it, It's not anything to stress about, but, the wind shear is kind of light in that area, not too bad. So anyway, there's that. We'll keep a slow eye on that. Some of the long-range map. Oops, not that model yet. This one here. Well, where did I go with it? Here it is right here. I wanted to show you the heat map. All right, this is what I looked at this morning. So it's actually kind of picking up. This is your tropical depression percentage maps, which they all start out higher than anything else. Usually I'll be cautious of sharing this. What the heck's that? Cautious of sharing this until we get this down here. Why is it not working? But anyway, there's tropical storm. So if you go to tropical storm percentages, you don't really see it. A little bit in the Carolinas though. And look, it's starting to pop up a little bit. So not zero on tropical storm percentages. This would be through the week into the weekend. So the flow for this run is that. Tropical depression percentages a little higher, 30%. So this is kind of the first time I saw this. I wouldn't be talking so much about it if I didn't see the blob of where it originates from. And so there's your Wednesday maps. So it's kind of that wraparound. So we'll just casually keep an eye on it. No really models are showing it other than the Euro ensembles, but we do have something out there that shows it. I mean, we have satellite, so we know the spot that it's looking at. Sometimes these models try to predict the spot that's not there yet, like the frontal line of Chantal. This has a little spot, so I've got my eye on it. I'm curious about it. Homegrown little sneaky systems like that, so we'll keep an eye on it. Nothing. Don't stress about it, but that's what I like to do. There is some more weather coming to the Carolinas we need to talk about. And then if you look at the European ensemble map here, I just wanted to point this out. There's only one. So, again, I didn't share that map yet. I'm going to wait till the afternoon hours to make sure it's not gone because sometimes, you need to get back-to-back runs. You got to get the idea. But there's one run showing it out of 51. So, not a lot of hype to post that yet. But still interesting nonetheless. All right, hazard maps I want to show you real quick. I always look at this map. It's on the website, mikesweatherpage.com. This kind of shows you areas. I love the new color. We've talked about that a lot. Hazardous heat, hazardous heat, hazardous heat. This is 7.8, 7.9, 7.7, 7.11, 7.7. So you get the idea. It's hot today through the week. Hazardous heat just means increased dew points. Normal temperatures, just a little more feel-like temperatures. So that's, kind of been a storyline. But this map also would show you any areas of heavy rain to watch too. Obviously today we're still looking at rainfall. We showed that. This is looking the next day 3 to day 8 or 7. So heat's the storyline. So here's your map for severe weather today. Not expecting any storms across the Appalachians at all. This whole green is so confusing because it's not everybody going to get something. It just means if we were to get a storm in the light green area, it could just be like a normal afternoon thunderstorm. Nothing's organized enough to be called dark green, number one. So big storms out middle part of the U.S. again today. But this line does get a little bit tricky. Here's tomorrow. Carolina's northward. Okay, there's going to be storms bubbling up again tomorrow to watch. Daytime heating's coming back, and there you go. So storms Tuesday, storms on Wednesday. So again, anytime we get a level number 1, you don't turn your back on severe weather, okay, ever. We've seen plenty of tornadoes over the years pop up, and these unexpectedly pop up. But if you read the wording of the dark green, severe thunderstorms can produce an isolated tornado and hail. So the next couple days, eastern seaboard areas to watch. Tropical tidbits showing you this pattern here. If we just kind of look at that, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's our low Chantel over Virginia, moving on off to the northeast. But then we get this little blob of moisture coming through tomorrow or tonight. This is tonight, but then it's going to be here tomorrow to fuel things up. Here's Tuesday morning, and just watch. Starts to get bubbling storms there. This is Tuesday. And just isolated any time, any place. That's through Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, right here, we start to get the same pattern. See that? Any of these little isolated storms on Tuesday. So there you go. We could have some on Thursday, maybe, but it looks a little better on Thursday. So definitely, well, there's Thursday there. So going to be a lot of repeat action Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here across the mid-Atlantic Carolinas area. So rainfall today, I just wanted to point this out. The heaviest rainfall expected today is away from the Carolinas, along Delaware there, parts of Maryland, 3 inches plus. So hopefully this pans out to not be too bad. Pennsylvania here, and here's that wraparound moisture coming in on that frontal line. So there's your rainfall today, inch 2 here south of the Great Lakes, rainfall through today. And then during the end of the week, though, we get another couple rounds of these storms. And if you fast forward 5 days to Saturday, usually 5-day windows halfway accurate. We could see some isolated flooding issues here. This is 5-day rain totals south of Pennsylvania there into Virginia and Delaware there. So we'll keep an eye on that possibility. This is your WPC NOAA map. So it's kind of somewhat official. So that'll be the area to watch in the next couple days. So there you go. Let me say hi to anybody. Ryan, we have not had a heat advisory yet. Is that Tampa? Emma, good morning. Good morning, Alan. Tracy, hey. Flooding is bad as Fran. I know Roya talked about that. It's definitely creating some flooding that's epic. Again, only a tropical storm, and it's not even a tropical storm anymore. Appalachian. There you go. Didn't see Rob. I'll take your advice since you got North Carolina, Rob. Appalachian. Thank you, Gus. Yes. So there you go. A little bit of weather from the Appalachians. There you go, Cylindra. Hot Angela, yes. Loretta, thank you. So we'll get into more this week about our trip into Margaritaville. Again, I first found the news out July 4th. I was just devastated. I called my good friend Judy. If you're watching, Judy, she lives out in Texas, and we were just talking about it. And, the mood just went way down, obviously. You probably noticed I didn't do much posting after that other than weather. And we got Longo. Longo is 10 out of 10, our expectations. I love the little guy already. He's melted my heart. So I might share a picture later today, and then we'll show him on the live, likely tomorrow. I just didn't think it was appropriate to do today. Not when there's so many people suffering. And it tore me up even a little bit more, obviously, because of the girls and me having girls. Not that it wouldn't have mattered any less, more or less. It just, you just think about that part of it, and I'm like, God, it's just so sad. Nicole, the tropics look fine. Nothing. We got a little blob right now we're watching that might curve up around and bring a little rain there tomorrow. I mean, let's look at the future radar real quick. HRR, sometimes these pick up decent signatures on weird systems like that. So let's go 12Z. Yeah, it kind of shows it right here. Just blobby mess. So, I like to look long range, and just pointing out that little spots out there. And just keep an eye on it. Sometimes these little homegrown systems can be sneaky and pop up. There it is right there. It can get a little spin to it. You can see it, a little clockwise spin to it. So just keep an eye on that little spot right here. I'm talking about this little guy right here. And most of the Euros have it doing that. So Doesn't mean it do anything. It just kind of means that's what we got. And all that dust is coming in from behind. Yes, Rita, extremely sad. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm just lost for words. I screw so much stuff up sometimes trying to. Sometimes silence for me is better than anything. Only tropical. Yeah, Allison. Hey, but Bubba Lato. Carolina's Helene and this current storm might have compounded things. I don't know if Helene. I don't know the connection there too much. Other than just a slow-moving tropical system that dumped almost 10 inches widespread rain. That's a lot of rains. 10 inches in the mountains is tremendous. 5 inches in the mountains is tremendous. So, some of the, looking back at some of the images I posted as Chantel was approaching, it had a lot. It didn't have the organization of a tropical system, but it was a big blob of rain and moisture. And that precipitable water carried itself inland and dumped a lot of rain. Rain can be way worse sometimes than winds. So, but we're going to go hang out with Dad here in a little bit. I haven't seen him in a week. So I'm going to go ahead and get some coffee for him. And we'll be live all week. And keep an eye on things. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. What's up, Neil? Dublin. I met another guy from Dublin. Neil. Couldn't believe it. He knew Donnie on the ship. Look at that, Shelly. You're right at 10 o'clock. So, all right. Well, we'll be back to normal things tomorrow. Big thanks to ABC Fine Wine and Spirits. We might be doing some commercials this week for them here located in my home state of Florida. Big shout out to Furman Power Equipment. They're doing their 30% off for MWP. Free shipping. I get that question all the time. 30%. Any product that they got online, 30% off. Furman shipped to your door. Free shipping. Can you believe it? A generator shipped to your house. Free shipping. 30% off. It's incredible. Big thanks to Storm Smart there over on YouTube. Don't forget my YouTube channel over there. And Storm Smart here located in Florida with their awesome drop-down hurricane screen protection by the touch of a button. Pretty incredible. And overall, 4th of July wasn't a washout. And I was very fortunate to have some neighbors wash off our cars because we were not here on the 4th, and because we had a lot of fireworks in our neighborhood, so they always make sure they wash the cars in the next morning because we have a lot of dust, gunpowder that falls, but the cars look good. So all right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Have a great Monday. And I know there's a lot of folks heading up that way to help, and that means a lot. Just including where we got Little Longo. They have 4 teams heading to Texas to help. So there's a lot of good people out there doing what they can. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Cheers, and